Welcome to the GCP-Mindset channel. My name is Andreas Beust. I'm the CEO of GCP Service, and we're here for our coverage on our road to the inspection, which is happening in August of 2025, where we'll share all of the information in the run-up to the conduct of the inspection and its aftermath. We hope you enjoy it.
What's being inspected and why it matters? Let's start with the basics. What exactly is an inspection?
So an inspection is when a governmental agency comes to you and reviews a certain clinical project or your system to run projects overall. In the case of Germany, this is a federated system, and here we have a federal agency that comes and visits you, experienced people that know a lot about regulations and requirements of clinical research, and they investigate whether everything you are doing within that sphere, within clinical research, is according to these requirements, with a very clear focus on patient safety, patient rights, and data integrity. And they are mandated to do that, as the state of Germany has an interest that the rules that are given are being followed. And so in like normal intervals or upon any incidences being observed, they have a right to say, we would like to visit you and we're coming by in a few weeks. Make sure that you are available and please share with us all information that we need to actually know and have confidence that you're working according to the requirements.
Who is inspecting us and what's the regulatory context behind this?
So we are getting inspected by the federal agency, which is sitting in Cologne and Düsseldorf. These are basically two cities that are close to one another in the west of Germany. And why are they coming to us? Because within the scope of this inspection is our office, GCP Service International West, which is situated in Siegburg, and that is very close by. So in Germany, the players that are inspecting the companies have to be regionally associated. Our office is close to this inspectorate, so they come over and inspect us. If our headquarter entity is in the focus of an inspection, then the inspectorate of Bremen comes to us. In this case, it's the one from Cologne and Düsseldorf. And yeah, they do this because they should do so in frequent intervals, and we have ongoing projects running, which they are informed about because they are publicly registered, and therefore they are aware we are performing these studies. And so for them, it's a good time point to say, hey, let's check in how you are doing, whether everything is running according to requirements.
What makes this inspection different from our usual CRO inspections?
Yeah, this is the really exciting part for me personally also. Usually we're a contract research organization, so we get a very systematic review of what we are doing and how we are executing projects on behalf of trial sponsors. This time the focus is different because in the focus we are acting as sponsors of these trials. So this is exactly the way that a small biotech company or even a large pharma company, a medical device manufacturer or a university clinic that runs an investigator-initiated trial would be in the focus if they are the sponsor of their project. And that gives us an opportunity to really get insights and have valuable discussions around the way that we set up our sponsorship as a service program and how to act as a sponsor in clinical trials. And yeah, that's why we want to share it.
Why did we as GCP Service take on the sponsor role in these studies?
So over the last, I want to say, primarily 5 years, so let's say 2020 and onwards, there have been massive changes to the clinical trial landscape in Europe. We have had complete changes to our regulatory framework. We had, let's say, European level directives that have all changed for medical devices, for in vitro diagnostics, and for drugs, all changed to regulations on a European level, clinical trial regulation, medical device regulation, and IVD regulation. So that shifted the regulatory landscape. On top of that, we had updates to ISO 14155, we have updates to ICH GCP, and a lot of additional provisions around that following and during the COVID pandemic. So for a lot of smaller companies especially, this massive change in regulatory landscape means a lot of things have to change and there's a lot of uncertainty, much more scrutiny. And so we have seen that the readiness and willingness to take on this responsibility as the study sponsor has dwindled. Now, if we look at the grand scheme of things, we have, of course, a lot of industry-sponsored clinical trials. They continue to run as well. But a large part still is being conducted under this investigator-initiated trial umbrella. It's not really like a regulatory term that has special rules or something like that, but it's just that university clinics taking on the responsibility of being the investigators or like the initiators of a trial, a little bit more academically driven. And here, this level of professionalism that you see in large corporation is not there. And so all of a sudden, the risk increases with all of these changes, whether everything is really considered and implemented, and you can really adhere to that. You don't want to run into an inspection and face an uncertainty of whether you pass or whether, as a university clinic, you are prohibited from participating in trials. So especially when it comes to multinational trials, where you don't only have one country, but you have multiple ones with slightly differing regulations, this can become a hurdle. And we have seen that this really impacts the society and our ability to do fundamental research in Europe. So we wanted to do something about it. And we therefore offer the opportunity for us to take on that sponsorship responsibility so that our partners, in this case for these two studies that are under focus now, our academic partners at universities, to focus on the science behind the project, while we focus on the logistics and the regulatory of the projects.
Which clinical trials are in scope for this inspection?
So for this inspection, the inspectorate has informed us that 2 of our trials, which we run as a sponsor, are in the focus. The first one is the Remark project, and the second is the Petrol project. Both of these are run in collaboration with the EMSCO network. This is a network, the European network that has as a focal group MDS as a disease indication, and therefore within that space we also run these 2 projects. The Remark project is a project in patients with lower risk MDS, and then we have the Petrol project, which is a project with patients suffering from CMML. And both of these projects are run within Europe, across multiple countries, always involving also Germany, but other than that, from South Europe to Eastern Europe, countries are involved in it. And our Remark project has already completed all of its enrollment, so we are in the active treatment phase for all the patients, sometimes already in the follow-up. And for the Petrol study, we are about to start treatment of the first patients.
What are the main focus areas of this inspection?
So in general, the inspection, of course, will focus on high-level topics such as how do we, as a sponsor, ensure that we have oversight over the trial? Do we adhere to regulatory requirements? Do we have contracts in place with all parties that are involved in these projects? And then they will also focus on some more study-specific tasks, like how do we do pharmacovigilance for these projects? How do we handle document management in these projects? How do we do IMP, logistics, tracking of compliance, and so on? So a mix of our quality management system and how we handle being the sponsor within the trial, the contractual relationship to the different parties, and then some study-specific execution of all of the agreements that we have in place and how they adhere with general regulatory requirements. So I would say it is rather typical for the scope of an inspection.
When will the inspection take place, and how are we preparing for it?
So the inspection is planned for August 20th through August 22nd. It's going to be 3 days. There's going to be 3 people. And the inspection is usually set within the premises of the sponsor, but we have a smaller office there, and it's really good and it's required and also quite recommended that you have 2 separate rooms, one where you can adjourn and have general discussions, and then a separate room where the inspectors can sit, review documents, discuss among themselves. We don't really have a very good setting for that within our offices. So what we're going to do instead, and what we've already organized, is that we are going to rent meeting rooms to host the inspectors so that the convenience is simply there for us to spend the 3 days uninterrupted with the logistical support that we need. What do we do to prepare? Well, we got the inspection letter. Coincidentally, at that day, we had a meeting of all of our team leads. So that inspection news broke in the middle of that team lead meeting. So everyone was already aware, let's say, maybe 60 minutes after received, because it was lunch break. And we had an immediate first meeting on the first day to just say like, okay, how can we organize everything? Who is there? Who is available? Do we need to clarify anything? Because that's the first important piece. We want to acknowledge it. And also understand sort of like how this is moving forward. First thing I did was I called them directly to also explain a little bit the relationship between us as a sponsor and GCP Service headquarters as a CRO, because I wanted to make sure they understand what they're inspecting is not a company that does end-to-end work for this trial, but they are inspecting the sponsor oversight piece of that trial. And everything else is outsourced to a different entity, which is not under their jurisdiction. So they briefly clarified that and it was okay. We checked in with whether we should host them in Cologne or in Siegburg, or whether they could also come to Bremen to our headquarters, because here it would be easy for us to host them, but they can only, have that meeting within the jurisdiction. So that was okay. And yeah, other than that, basically everything was already given in writing what we needed. So day 2, we had internal alignments already across the team, making sure everyone was aware, understanding that it's mid of summer, so all of our project leads are on vacation for the time of the inspection. We have in between key members of the team, of course, now on vacation. But it's all okay. We set down the timeline so that we could manage basically everything until the delivery of the documents to the inspectorate. And that's the next deadline that's coming up, which is going to be 30th or 31st of July. There we basically upload a bunch of documents to them for the review ahead of the on-site discussion that we will have at the end of August. For us internally, currently what we're doing is once or twice a week, there's a check-in between our quality assurance team that sort of navigates the entire preparation process, some internal reviews, and the communication between the participants on our end, and managing that all the documents are being compiled that we need to submit. And we are getting updated and checking in whether everything is progressing as planned. And then down the line in August, we are probably going to get together, it's planned that way for 13th of August, to sit together and have a mock inspection internally, where we just go through what we want to present so that we have a clear structure to present to the inspectors, so that it's neat and we understand where gaps might be that we need to explain a little bit better or in more detail, or where we might need supporting documentation, and have that ready so that we can quickly answer all questions that are coming up. And yeah, then we're going to arrive on 19th of August in Cologne, so that we are ready 20th in the morning. And then it's all going to be up to what the inspectors want to know, what they want to discuss. We'll have presentations prepared, of course, for them, and we'll see what comes up.
Why did we decide to share this journey publicly?
So at GCP Service, and with this vessel that we have here, we are already super passionate about sharing knowledge. We have the GCP-Mindset channel, which we simply sort of like run on the side, so that we have an opportunity to get people interested in clinical research. We are very engaged in teaching students, giving internships at our company, and so on and so forth. And for me, one of the big opportunities I have in leading the company is to move towards clinical research simply being easier for all parties involved. That's what I want to achieve with GCP Service. And so getting this inspection letter and understanding that this time around, I wouldn't be sharing information for another contract research organization who are all professional. This is their day-to-day job. But the type of information and the inspection readiness now focuses on how a small biotech, a small medtech company, or an academic sponsor might perceive being inspected. Only having the oversight and the core of the clinical trial, but everything else outsourced. That's where I got really excited, seeing that the scope is different and it can much more resonate with the type of people that we want to help. And yes, it's sometimes thinking about like, what if things go wrong? Well, that can be scary, but that's real life. That's what happens. I think we have a great approach to how we manage trials as a sponsor. I'm really convinced about it, otherwise we wouldn't do it. And I think anything that comes up can be a great lessons learned, and we can share how we do things if they pass the inspections, if and when they pass the inspection. That will help other people also feel the confidence of, yes, you can run trials this way, which means we all benefit because we'll have more trials run in an adequate manner in Europe. And that's, for me, a really positive thing. And yeah, I think it's an opportunity we cannot let pass.
What's your personal take on going through an inspection as a sponsor?
Yeah, I'm I guess you can feel it already. I'm excited. I love it. I think for the team, it might be a bit more stress than for me, but of course, I basically for 3 days, I'm the sponsor. I have to represent the trials. So I know there will be high stakes for me, being there, being present. But frankly speaking, every week I have meetings with the teams. I get oversights. I look into our systems. I get reports. I know these studies very well as the project managers do, but that's also not my job. And it's a fantastic opportunity to learn. I'm such a big fan of growing, of developing, of getting feedback. It's an awesome opportunity to get someone outside that looks at our processes, gives us impactful feedback on how we do things. I always enjoy when we have audits here, but they are focusing on us being a contract research organization. And I love that we offer sponsorship as a service. I love the impact that we can have with that. And so getting feedback on this is just great. Every conference I go to, I want to talk with inspectors just to get their perspective on clinical trial regulations, interpretation of guidelines, issues that they observe. Now I have 3 days with 3 of them on my own. Perfect opportunity. And for me, that's gold. And for me, again, it's having that just using it for myself, that would be such a waste. So I love that we have that opportunity. And so I'm very happy to spend the time and structure through what we do and what we learn so that others can benefit from as well. And such an opportunity brings me a lot of joy.
Do you want to say something to our viewers?
Well, I hope you're going to enjoy all the things that we're going to put together. I hope that they're going to be helpful for you. And please ask a lot of questions as well. Of course, we are going to try to structure some of the content here over the next weeks. And we're trying to be transparent about what we do, what's the outcome, and create something that's helpful and that's actionable for you also. And if there's something unclear and if you would like to have more guidance, reach out, leave comments or messages. There are many ways of connecting to us directly or interacting with our content where we can then take the opportunity, refine it, and bring more value to you. That's something I would love to do more over the next weeks and a month to really use that opportunity to the maximum. So in case you have any questions, concerns, also just reach out.